Have you ever had a fight or disagreement with your wife and she is just all fired up? Maybe you said something that made her angry or hurt her feelings, and you don't understand why she's going off the rails about something that you consider pretty small and petty. But whatever the situation may be, you think that maybe if you explained or you rationalized or provided some logic behind the statement, that maybe you would be able to calm her down. Maybe you can kind of walk her through and diffuse the situation and allow her to see that how she's thinking about something is incorrect. And if she can see how the way she's thinking about something is incorrect, that she will be able to realize that she is just being ridiculous. Now, if you're a man who believes that a woman can be logicked out of her emotions, then stick around. This video is for you. Now, I realized I needed to do this video after an encounter that we had happen at my house. So it was late at night and I was already in bed, and I'm hearing my husband down the hallway having a disagreement with my daughter, Madison. So all this time I'm just like thinking that they're going to work it out, but they don't. So they come walking into the room and Michael says to me, I need your opinion here, because maybe I'm the one that's having problems here. Maybe I'm the one that's being ridiculous. Apparently what the problem was that Madison was upset that she had to set her alarm to wake up in the morning for school, but Mason didn't. They both have alarm clocks. They're both supposed to set their own alarm. But apparently Mason had not been setting his own alarm, that he had actually just can hear Madison's alarm and had been using that to wake himself up. So in our household, this is a common problem where Madison is always worried about what Mason's doing instead of just worrying about what she's supposed to be doing for herself. We're always like, don't focus on them. Focus on what you're supposed to be doing. What is it to you, what they're doing or what they're not doing, or what I told them to do and not to do? So we've always told them, focus on what you're supposed to be doing. What the other person's doing or not doing is none of your business. Her face is all puffed up and red, and she has these red eyebrows that she always gets when she's been crying, because she's just very upset that not only is her dad not taking her side on this, that he's frustrated that she's not being logical about this whole thing. And she's like, well, why should I have to be the one that sets the alarm? And Michael's trying to tell her, you would have to set your alarm anyway. This is a rule you're supposed to follow. You set your own alarm. Whether he sets his alarm or doesn't set his alarm is none of your business. So she's all upset. She's thinking that we're taking Mason's side. And this is all a big problem. And now I'm put on the spot about who is right or wrong in this situation. And mind you, it's late. It's like 10 o'clock. And Michael does tend to get a bit long-winded in these things. If he's thinking that if Madison can logically understand the error of her thinking, she will be able to realize this and calm herself down. What he doesn't realize, and what I don't think a lot of men realize, is that you cannot get a woman to calm herself down with logic. Women all have, I would call it like the baseline of emotion, all right? Your standard when you're just going along through life, our baseline of emotion might be here. So in that moment, Madison is highly, highly emotional. And he's thinking if he provides her with enough logic to see the error of her ways and the way she was thinking, that she would be able to take that logic and bring herself down to her normal baseline of emotion. That's never going to work, because what Michael doesn't understand, and what I don't think a lot of you guys understand, is that when a woman is in a heightened level of emotion, you must first address the emotion. There's nothing logically that you're going to be able to say that is going to be effective. So now the new goal is not to address the original issue. The new goal is to bring her down to a stabilized level of emotion. Hey, I just want to swing in to ask you to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I am in a friendly competition with the guys over at the Present Fathers podcast, and I am trying to outpace them for their growth for their channel. And you can also tip me to whatever value you have gotten from the channel by hitting the thanks button below. Now, back to the video. Now I'm stuck in this conundrum because I was like, well, I can kind of see her point. Doesn't make logical sense, but no, I get what she's saying. Like, she's feeling like there's a double standard here. But now he's upset with me because he's not thinking that I have his back. But I'm like, you asked my opinion. I'm going to give you my opinion. Yes, you're right in this regard, that it doesn't matter and that she is being illogical. Yes, I agree with you. But at the same time, I completely get where she's coming from. If I was in her shoes, I would likely feel the same way. And you guys being so logical miss the empathy side. You miss the side where you have to address the emotion and how she's feeling about something before she can settle herself down to a baseline of emotion. And then you can logic her through her air of how she's thinking about something. So how do I think that particular case could have been handled more effectively? Well, first of all, it was late at night. He should have recognized that she was tired, that her level of emotion was not going to allow her to hear what he was saying to her. And he should have said, you know what, Madison, set your alarm. Don't worry about your brother. Go to bed. That's it. There didn't need to be some big laid out drama. He needed to recognize she was tired. And I don't think that Michael is alone. I think that the majority of men believe that they're going to be able to logic a woman into decreasing her elevated level of emotions. And that's just not an effective technique. And I understand this nature about myself as a woman. And I actually created a strategy that I would table anything that's bothering me for a day or two. And if it's still bothering me, then I know it needs to be addressed. And that is not some outside external force like being hungry or being tired or just maybe having a bad day at work and a general bad mood, because something can become a problem that otherwise would not be a problem because of something completely outside of the problem itself. You could just be hungry. You could just be tired. She could just need a taco. And in the meantime, you go to sleep and you're pissed. You're pissed off. You had a fight and you wake up the next morning, you're like, I was kind of being ridiculous. And it doesn't bother you anymore. Most emotional problems with women go away the next day or two. They don't even really need to be addressed super deep. Like give yourself and your lady some space to let her emotions come down. And then when you're both at this good place and she's not tired and she's well rested and she has enough food in her stomach and enough time has passed, she'll probably be like, oh, well, this was stupid. I don't even know why I felt this way. Don't worry about it. But what happens is guys believe that you have to fix and experience and logic her in that moment, and you don't. If you try to talk a woman out of her emotions, she is going to feel unheard. She's going to feel judged. She's going to feel unloved. And it's your job as her husband to provide that emotional stability for these waves of emotions to crash upon. You don't need to be caught up. You don't need to be putting your own emotion into the equation here, because now you're just two big waves of emotional balls just clashing against each other. So your job is to just stand strong and remain stoic and unshakable when those emotions come crashing down on you. And that's really hard to do. I get that it's really hard to do. And you know who does this really well is, and I know it's fictional, so it's probably maybe a bad example, but if any of you have seen Yellowstone, Rip does this really well. Rip is super appealing to females. Whoever created the character of Rip created the perfect man on many levels. I think I want to do a full video about this. Rip's girlfriend is about as batshit crazy as it comes. She is a ball of chaos and destruction anywhere she goes. But in those moments of craziness, he never judges it. He never asks her to change. He never tries to talk her down and try to say, hey, you shouldn't feel this way, and this is why. This is not what I meant by this. He lets her feel it. He lets her experience it. And he stands by strong and steady until she calms herself down. He's just there. So how do you do this? How do you provide this emotional stability for your wife that she needs from you? Well, the first thing you need to do is to stop talking and start listening. In the last video I did, when I was talking about women's core needs and that a woman needs to feel seen and heard to feel loved, many of you men believed that to mean that when you acknowledge her emotion when she's upset, it means that you have to agree with her. That's not what that means. That means by you simply saying, I can see you're really upset here. Stop talking and start listening. You cannot match her emotions. In the moment, there's only room for one woman, and it's not you. She's relying on you and your strength for her to be able to fully experience these emotions in a safe environment. If she will allow you to, give her a hug. A lot of times with Madison, if she's in this total emotional state, I will literally scoop her up. She's kind of getting a little bit big to this. I will scoop her up and hold her like a baby. And I can feel her body just melt, just becoming like this puddle. Then in that state of being held, she is able to calm herself down. And then we're able to have a discussion when she is calm. There's a couple questions that I think are really helpful in helping her feel supported through her emotions, which could be like, what is making you so upset? It gives her a voice in which to try to explain what she's feeling. You could say, what am I missing? Sometimes if you said something to her and she's reacting like in a way that's far more exaggerated than you understand, you're missing something of why that was so offensive. And you can also ask her, what did you hear me say? Because sometimes the words that somebody says out of their mouth is not the words that another person hears. So they kind of translate it into their own brain, and they might have received a different message than you actually said. So honestly, sometimes with women too, we don't even know what triggers us. We don't even know why we are experiencing what we're experiencing. And we have to like kind of think about it. All we know is we're upset with it, and we don't even know why. Now, in no way or shape or form am I condoning that during a time of emotional outbursts from a woman, this means as a man that you are going to accept disrespect. She can be emotional, but this does not give her permission to attack you. And so definitely call those moments out if you need to, regardless of the consequence. Disrespect, no matter what, always needs to be called out. And like I said before, it does not mean that you are agreeing with how she perceives things. You're not agreeing that her perception of what happened is actually what happened. You're being supportive of her in the emotion at that time. That is it. And you are going to find most of the time, if you put enough space between what's going on now and the emotion, probably 95% of the time, the emotion takes care of itself. So remember, guys, just stop trying to logic a woman out of emotion. And with that, I'll see you next time.